These notes are to help with proportions and unit rates. So please remember that a unit rate is a ratio that compares a quantity to one unit. For instance, a 5-ounce bar of soup cost $1.75. Okay, well, the unit rate would be the cost for 1 ounce, or the price per ounce. Remember we talked about a while ago that per means divide. So if we're looking for price divided by ounce, now we have our price divided by ounce. And we want to know what that equals, what that price is per 1 ounce. So if we set up a proportion where the prices are on the top and the ounces are on the bottom, we can figure out that we're dividing by 5 to get here. So we should be dividing by 5 to get here. When you take $1.75 and you divide it by 5, you get 35 cents. There is another way to solve this proportion, but it's actually listed, or it's actually shown in our rates, ratio, and proportion notes video. So you can look through that one if you want. Use the unit rate to determine the price of an 8-ounce bar of soap. Well, if 1 ounce is 35 cents, then I can take that 35 cents and multiply it by 8. So 35 cents times 8 is $2.80. Unit prices can be used to find what is the better buy. The better buy will always have the lower unit price. So we're going to find the unit rate for each bottle detergent. You can set up a proportion like above, or what you probably have already figured out is that all you are going to have to do is divide by that bottom. So if we're looking for the price per ounce, all we have to do is divide those two to get 18 cents. We're going to take our price per ounce and we're going to divide it to get 14 cents. Our price per ounce is 16 cents. And then the last one is 408 divided by 24, which gives me 17 cents. So by using division to find my unit rate, I can compare all of these different prices with their ounces and figure out which one is the better buy. So the better buy is the 15-ounce bottle because it's only 14 cents per ounce. Next one is if you type at a rate of 45 words per minute, you could use a table or a proportion to find the number of words you could type in 30 minutes at the same rate. A proportion shows a multiplicative relationship between two ratios. So if we type 45 words in 1 minute, then how much are we going to type in 30 minutes? Well, this is times 30, so this should be times 30. Because every minute we type 45, so after 2 minutes it should be 90, and after 3 minutes it should be 45 higher. So 45 times 30 gives me 1350. And that's what's shown over here. So we could take this ratio, and they should be equal because this one is increased by the same amount this one is. So this ratio equals that ratio. Using that relationship we just talked about, to get from 1 to 30, you multiplied by 30. So you would do the same to the bottom to keep those ratios equal, which is where I came up with my 1,350 words. The other way that you could think about it is to get from 1 to 45, you multiply by 45. So to get from 30 to the bottom, you would also multiply by 45. As long as you're doing the same thing on both sides or on the top and the bottom, everything remains constant. So we're going to write and solve a proportion for each of these word problems. Ty worked 4 hours and earned $28. At this rate, how much would he earn in 9 hours? So we're looking, he's got 4 hours for $28. That ratio should be the same as how much he would earn, which we don't know, in 9 hours. Now, your proportion doesn't necessarily have to be written like this. You could have written price over hours. But in that case, the price would have to been over the hours. So when I look at this, I see that to get from 4 to 28, I have to multiply by 7. So to get from 9 to x, I should also multiply by 7. So my amount would be 9 times 7, which is $63. Amy reads 12 pages in 30 minutes. So I'm going to write pages over minutes. At this rate, how many pages could she read in 2 hours? Now, 2 hours is 2 times 60, which is 120. I did that because I have minutes over here, so I also want to have minutes over here. On this one, I noticed that 30 times 4 is 120. So 12 times 4 should be my answer. She can do 48 pages. A 6-inch submarine sandwich has 360 calories. So we've got 6 inches for 36 calories. We want to know, after using the same ingredients, how many calories. So I don't know. That should say 360. I don't know how many calories would be in a 2 foot. Now, 2 foot, there's 12 inches in each foot. So that means there's 24 inches in that sandwich. There's a couple different ways that I can get to the answer on this one. 6 times 4 is 24. So 360 times 4 should give me my amount of calories. However, I could also get there by saying, that's times 60. So I could also multiply this times 60. And 24 times 60 is also 1440. The last example for this notes is windows to minutes. At this rate, how long will it take her? So we're looking how long for 20 windows. Well, if we can do 3 windows in 10 minutes, 20 windows in how many minutes? All right, so the problem on this one is we can't really figure out what exactly this relationship is. So I would suggest using a different method for this type of problem. So in this particular problem, you have to think about what do I multiply 3 by to come up with 20? And although this seems a little bit weird, you have to think back to when we multiplied fractions previously. So the answer to this is 20 over 3. And the reason is because when you put this over 1, the 3 times 20 gives you 60, and the 3 times 1 gives you 3. That 3 here and that 3 here end up canceling each other out when you finish up your division. So if you can multiply by what this top part is, and then divide by that 3, that's that ratio that you're going to end up multiplying by. So over here, we're going to multiply by the same thing, which is going to bring us back to our fraction unit again. So top times the top, bottom times the bottom. And when we divide that amount out, we should get 66 2/3 minutes. Now, some of you may remember from last year a different way of solving this problem. And this is also discussed more thoroughly in the other video on rates, ratios, and proportions that I posted. And this is cross multiplying and dividing. So this gives me 3x, and this gives me 200, which creates a multiplication equation so I can divide both sides to undo the multiplication. And that gets me right back to that 200 divided by 3, which is 66 2/3. Whichever way, as long as you show your work, I'm happy. So that's all for this particular lesson. Please take a look at the additional videos I posted for multiple ways to be able to solve these problems.